We're back. We're talking with Paul Lynde and McLean Stevenson's here tonight, and Bob Uecker and Carol Wing and the Mighty Carson art players. I found that you were not particularly good. I don't know whether this is part and parcel of being a performer, that you were not particularly great in school either. You were not the valedictorian.
I was real good in high school, and then in college, I don't know if it was cloudy, it was somebody's birthday, I didn't go to school, and I became very social, and I entertained a lot, and I would play that against the faculty, and so it was because I do alumni things and stuff like that for the school. But you're right about, right up to the closing of my college career, it was probably the biggest crisis of my life. Your grades go home first to your father, and you don't know what they are. And my dad called, and he can be frank, and he said, "What the hell is B?" And when you're panicky, I said, valedictorian. No. And so it was a snap course. It was one of those courses where everybody else in it was football players. And I think it was drawer arrangements or something like that. And
sock sorting and everything.
It really snapped back on me. And I went to this professor who I thought had no humor. And he said, V is for visitor. He said, "You've never been in this class." And I had to finally go. I went to everyone but the governor of Illinois because my dad was already in the car on the way. Well, you don't tell him out on Deering Meadow with your no cap and gown, Dad, sorry. And he was on his way.
Well, they weren't even going to graduate.
No, absolutely not. And I went to everyone, and they started passing the buck and everything, and the dean of speech school would say, "Well, if you can get this person," and so like that. So finally, God bless him, the highest authority, I did not know that, at a university is called the Student Senate. And they held a special meeting, and I'm not kidding him, my dad to this, that they never knew it. The ink was really wet on my diploma, really wet. But the Student Senate passed me the morning when I think the orchestra was playing. It was that kind of, but it's amazing what you can do when you have to do something.
Where'd you go?
Oh, I tell you, I would not take no, I had to graduate.
What did you do right after graduating?
I went to New York. Yeah. Then, there was not that much television, and I played around a lot, I'm ashamed to say, and I lost my father, and neither one of my parents ever saw me do anything, but it's an awful thing to say, but I think my father's passing made me do something finally.
Really?
I had no more help, and it's amazing what you have to do when you have to do it, and I started writing, which I really didn't think I could write because I couldn't afford, to buy material. And I wrote a number and entered an amateur contest at No. 5th Avenue, which is still down there. And it got me my first break. And luckily, Leonard Selman, which is magic, and it's great in those days when I was in New York, there were marvelous little showcases like that where you could showcase yourself, because you can't get an agent. And
get all of those reviews.
They were marvelous. And that was what magic that happened for me. Leonard Selman saw me through this number and put me in his first Broadway show.
How come it's been 23 years since you've gone out now in the
mainly because of trauma, really. The last time I ever worked in a nightclub was the Versailles in New York, and I can talk about it because it's no longer there. I think it was in the Round Table and it was something else. But it was one of the most expensive nightclubs, I think, in the world. There were no prices on the menus, and I think water was 85 cents. And most of the time when you're on, the police were there fighting with the customers because they would just scream, "I don't carry that much money on me," because the bill could be $500 and $600. In those days, it's a lot of money today, but in those days it was unbelievable. And I'm not kidding you, I played there 16 weeks, 2 shows a night, and I bombed every performance. And the owner of the club, he would not fire me. I would go and plead with him. And there's a story that a lot of comedians tell around, but it's mine. It truly happened. One night I was doing the best thing I had, really, at that time, was the African monologue. And the people ringside, suddenly while I was in the middle of the monologue, got up and started dancing. And there's no music in my act.
See, that's a tip-off
They just couldn't wait any longer. Really, it was incredible. And it was that way all the time.
See, when people dance during a monologue, that is the first that I have found that you're in trouble.
And I played another club, Spivey's Roof. Do you remember Spivey's Roof? It was a penthouse club, and very, very end, when it was hot. So I closed it.
Closed Spivey's?
I closed Spivey's. I really did. I was the last person to perform there. And, you know, as I said, it was up on top of the roof. And Spivvy and I'd be sitting back in the corner all alone, and we'd hear the elevator, and she'd say, "Get your props, you're on." And I would get my props out, and it was just the elevator man. He was lonely and wanted to talk to us, or the landlord trying to collect the rent. It was just incredible. You know, Spivvy, when we did have people like on the weekend, I would announce her after I was through, and she'd run in the John and lock herself in there till the club closed. She never would come on. She would as soon as the club closed. And Judy Garland and Martha Ray and Judy Holliday used to come in, and Spivvy would entertain all night long for them. But she would not for the audience. And finally one night I went to work, and when I came, the piano was down on the sidewalk under the canopy, so I knew it was over.
And the elevator man was dancing. It's wrap-up time. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Stay where you are.